tigresse, je suis la tigresse. Je suis la tigresse, je suis la tigresse. Je suis la tigresse, je suis la tigresse. Je suis la tigresse, je suis la tigresse. Venez tout me raconter.
How would you describe your art career?
I consider myself a part-time artist, but it comes and goes, like ebbs and flows, but I've really tried to concentrate the last couple of years to focus on selling my artwork and finding like different niches or different markets. So it's changed in the last couple of years.
Awesome. So you do work another job as teaching English as a second language at the local university? Yes.
That's correct.
Do you think that you'd be able to support your family if you only worked in the arts and not as a teacher?
No, but for a couple reasons. One would be I'm very late coming to learning the technology and computer end of art, which is how most things are submitted or altered or manipulated. So it's one thing to create the art on the page, and it's another thing to get it into some sort of digital format where people could use it for a different purpose other than framing it or putting it on the wall.
Okay. Yeah.
And part of it is timing, right? So in terms of thinking about art as a career from the beginning or coming in at it, I'm pushing 50, so coming in at it at a different time in my life. Now I have time to concentrate on it, but and then we live in an odd location.
Yeah.
So I would say location and timing and learning the technical or business end of art.
Mm-hmm. So why did you choose to pursue art as a career?
I would say that I've always enjoyed doing art. So art can be a hobby, art can be an outlet, art can be a fun way to meet people and, you know, create a community. But it's just been the last couple of years where I said that I wanted to make more money with my art than just to be able to pay for supplies. So that was a pretty conscious choice.
Yeah.
But then that means other things get let go, right?
Yeah.
If you view it as a job as opposed to something that's fun to do,
Yeah.
then you have to alter your approach to it using your time or, changes a lot of things.
Yeah. So what inspires you to continue your art?
Enjoyment. One is that I just love doing it and I love getting color on the page. And I think I like the response, like I've found the audience that likes the style art that I do, and that certainly encourages me to keep creating new pieces.
Awesome. I'll word this. Like, how did you feel when you told people that you wanted to be more artists, like an outward artist? Like,
that's
things.
That's an interesting question because I think it's really easy to say, oh, I'm arty or oh, I'm creative. But there's a lot of baggage that comes with the word artist.
Yeah.
So family concern was, are you still going to be able to have fun with it or is it going to become stressful? So I think that's a legitimate question for people to ask me, right? Like, is it going to make you so stressed that you don't enjoy it or that you can't do other things? And then I think getting over being sort of falsely, I don't know what the word is, where people are like, oh, well, I'm kind of an artist, like where people hedge what they do to just be able to stand up and say, I'm an artist, I'm a part-time artist, and be excited about it and be proud of it. That's definitely something that comes with time, I guess. Yeah. It's really easy, I think, for women especially to say, oh, it's just something I do part-time. Oh, I'm busy with my family. Oh, I'm busy with this. And so to stand up and say, no, like it's more than just like a little cutesy-poo thing.
Yeah. Are you part of any arts organizations?
Yes, a couple informal ones. So the Kodiak Arts Council does have a visual artists organization that sort of ebbs and flows depending on, you know, who's in town or who's busy promoting it. And so the Arts Council actually hosts a few like open shows for the public to do. I'm involved with the Altered Book Show, which is every February, and that's collaboration between the Kodiak Arts Council and Kodiak Public Library and the Kodiak Public Library Association. So those three groups get together and try to inspire locals to do altered books and promote it and have like a First Friday event surrounding that. And then I'm involved with a private group. We call ourselves the Kodiak Gypsy Artists. And we have a show every October We've just expanded our group. We've invited a few new people to join us and, sort of be a support group, whether it's trying to find supplies or trying to find ideas or trying to brainstorm. And we've had a couple studio tours with different members, have a little Facebook page just for us, like a little private group so we can
Yeah.
tell each other what we're up to. So, yeah.
Is the Kodiak Gypsy artist all female?
It is currently. I don't know that it has to be necessarily, but it has ended up being that way.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Do you think it is more difficult for women to be accepted in the arts than men?
No, I've never felt that. I feel like it's pretty personal choice. Like if you are determined to go do it, then go do it. But if you're going to sit around and make excuses or, divide your time doing other things, no, I don't think it's based on gender necessarily.
Okay. Have you ever, so you don't feel like you've ever been treated lesser because you're woman as an artist?
No, but the other thing is that I am a part-time artist and I am in a small town.
Yeah.
So I'm not competing in a big city or a terribly commercial environment. So that could definitely change if I lived elsewhere.
So in most big art museums, it's actually like only about 5% of the displays are female work. So even though like a lot of people assume art is dominated by females, why do you think that they're not being displayed as much?
I think historically men were probably paid historically men were educated.
Yeah.
So, and it's not very far back that you have to go to find that. So like Georgia O'Keeffe, I think, had to push a little bit to get herself educated. I don't know that the family necessarily wanted to let her pursue her education in art, and that's not very, that's like a generation and a half behind my mom. That's not very far back.
Yeah.
So I think men were traditionally educated or chosen, to be artists in residence or do art for a wealthy patron. And I suspect if we dig a little deeper, we would find that women do certain kinds of art traditionally.
Yeah.
So, but I think I'm in a little bubble because I'm in a small town, and I'm doing art that I choose to do.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not depending on it to support my family. So,
what do you think could be done to lessen the gap of female artists displayed?
well, I think it's slowly changing. So check out New York Times just today. There was an article about a show in New York, nobody under the age of 60 or 65. So, and I'm curious if it was all women or not. One of the people interviewed was a woman, but so that was like ageism in art. So that's kind of interesting. And then there have been a few recent articles of women artists who've recently passed away, and people are like, hey, why didn't we know about her work in her lifetime? And I don't know, because I think you could go two ways. If you promote women-only shows, you'll get women's art, women's art will be on the wall and be viewed.
Yeah.
But then I also think people need to be able to compete in a level playing field. So if it's only ever women-only shows, is that fair to the women participating, or do they need to get their art out? Maybe it's also like women business owners. Like maybe it's a multi-pronged approach. If you have women owning galleries, if you have women being educated, if you have women who own commercial or graphic artist businesses. So
yeah. Do you have any advice for girls or females wanting to pursue a career in the arts?
I would say interview people. So I think probably the hardest thing is to figure out how many different angles there are to using your art and creativity and pairing that with a job. So art does not have to be framed things on the wall in a museum.
Yeah.
It could be commercial art, it could be book illustration. And so I think if people dig around and kind of let go of their stereotypes of what it means to be an artist, they would easily find a niche where they could use their creativity, so you could feel fulfilled from a career point of view, and also pay some bills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, that was my last question. Thank you. How did you find the job of an arts director?
Well, came to the position through museums. I worked at a history museum for 10 years, and I loved that job, and I loved working for nonprofits and community organizations. And this position came open in December of 2012, and I was familiar with the Arts Council because I had been a participant in community theater shows and other programs the Arts Council sponsored as a young person growing up. So I wanted the opportunity to work here and applied, interviewed, and was hired. It was about 5 years ago.
Awesome. Do you think it is more difficult for women to be accepted in the art world than men, more so outside of Kodiak?
Interesting. My perspective and experience is exclusively in Alaska.
Okay.
I would say women are well represented in the arts field in Alaska, both as practicing artists and as arts administrators. I can't speak to say if there's a wage gap between men in the field and women in the field. That could be a possibility. But in terms of barriers to employment, I think women are fairly well represented in the field.
Okay, awesome. Do you think it's significant that the workers at the Arts Council in the past few years have all been female?
Yes. It's probably, I have spoken to my board about this trend and if it represents possibly a hiring preference from me, since I do all of the hiring. But I tend to want to hire the best candidate for the job. And I believe in a supervisory strategy where you hire the best people and then you give them the latitude and support to do the best work that they can. And it's just so happened that all of those candidates in the past 5 years have been women.
Awesome. And so in museums, women are only being displayed about 5% of the works are by female artists.
Yes.
So do you think there can be anything done to increase the number of women being displayed?
Well, I think it is a change that's been a long time in coming, and it's going to take several generations still to change.
Yeah. I
think some strategies that could be used would be financial support for emerging and practicing female artists. I think if there were grant programs that had sort of were over a long term with a specific goal to increase the number of female artists exhibited at museums. Really where you direct your resources is where you're going to see results.
Yeah.
So programs that might specifically intend to support practicing female artists would be a good place to start. And then having women in, and maybe not even just women, but people in curatorial positions who have an awareness of this disparity and who are committed to changing the trend.
Awesome. Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Je suis la tigresse, je suis la tigresse.